Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming in. And go ahead and settle in, and we will begin the class shortly. Let's give it about 2 more minutes for people to continue filing in, and we'll begin. If you have not ever been to this class before, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. So my name is Phynne-Belle, and I will be your instructor for today. Please do let me know if you can hear me clearly. Otherwise, I'll have to make a few adjustments. Webinar Jam can be a little bit temperamental, but we'll try to forge on, and I will post anything in the chat that you are unable to hear, because the connectivity could be tricky sometimes. In that case, if that happens, all you have to simply do is just log out and then try to log back in. And we will move on with the class. I think we have everybody in now. If you have never been here before, please go ahead and introduce yourself. So again, like I said, my name is Phynne-Belle, and I am a poet and podcaster, blogger from the San Francisco Bay Area. I am a co-director with the Poetry Global Network. And I also have my own poetry platform, which offers workshops, online open mics, other events that are related to poetry and writing. So you are now attending SocietyX's Friday version of Get Inspired and Speak Up. And what is that exactly? It is mostly a generative writing class with a tiny bit of a section in the end where I guess you could call it an open mic, because you get to share, you get to come up to the microphone, hop on the live with me and share your piece. So let me answer this question here in the chat. Wonderful. If you are answering in the Q&A only, you could go ahead and do that if you don't have access to the chat, but go ahead and put it in the main chat as well. There's a Q&A only portion, and there's a chat, and I will try to keep checking both sections. So if you have used Webinar Jam before, let me familiarize you a little bit. On your right-hand side, you should see all the icons that you would use. So there's a chat button. You'll also notice underneath the chat button, there's the poll button. And almost every week, I post a poll for our class. And what this helps me do is, this helps me to to organize the upcoming syllabi. So if you wanted to answer that, that's completely optional. I see some of you already did. It's really helpful for me to plan future classes. Underneath that, you'll also notice that there is something that's called offers. This is not an offer. This is the only way that we are allowed to put our donation button. Should you want to donate to any of your instructors for their free classes, you're open to do so. But again, that's also optional. All right, so let us begin. So for each of these sessions, what I would like us most to concentrate on is effectively putting our energies and our time into creating the effective skills of getting us into the thick of writing. So we're just going to get right into the writing. Remember that what you do here in this class can be a first draft that may eventually be a fully fleshed out piece that would be shared in a public venue or published. And so this is also your space where I would like you to develop and strengthen your spoken word skill and your knack for storytelling, both written and spoken. So usually how our sessions would go are, I would first give you the initial spark by way of 5 rapid succession prompts. Next, we engage in quick writing sprints. This is what I call them. And they're basically where you free write in a short period of time, but you do not pause to make edits. And finally, at the very end of the class, if we have time and there's enough, like 15 minutes left, I highly encourage you to come up to the microphone and to share what you wrote in the class. In this particular session, they don't have to be finished pieces, obviously. They are your free writing, and we honor that. We would like to see your writing in every stage of its development. And how you do that, I'm going to explain a little bit of it right now, and then again later, is at the very bottom of right-hand bottom of your screen, you'll see the speak button. You click on that. There's going to be a little bit of a delay while Webinar Jam tries to check your audio. So it's going to boot you out and then try to boot you back in to check your audio. So don't feel like you were booted out of the session. That's just normally how it goes. It has a 15-second delay, and then it gets you back on. And when you do come back on, you'll be live on the session with me instead of just merely being a participant who's listening. But so for this session, normally I like to do 5 successive prompts. For this session, I want to change it up a tiny bit. Instead of writing 5 prompts in succession, we are instead going to concentrate on 3 connected ones. And I'm going to allow for a longer period of time for you to write and explore the prompts. So how these sessions normally go is I present the prompts, and that will take, I'd love you to take a moment to digest these prompts before you write to them. Take a moment, a few seconds, think about what the prompt is about, and then start writing to it. I'd like you to refrain in this session from doing any active editing. This is something that you can do later. That's what I'd like you to concentrate the week on. If you decide to pick one of the prompts to concentrate on and write a piece to that, I'd like you to sustain that writing for the remainder of the week. Put away the writing for a little while, take it out again, revisit it, and fully flesh it out and begin editing it outside of the class. If you need help doing that, if you'd like me to take a look at your pieces, please feel free to email me. I'm always very open to receiving your draft in any form that they're in. So yeah, take time to polish them afterwards, but what we're doing mainly in this class is free writing. When we've completed all our prompts, and if time allows, like I said a while ago, I'm going to invite you up to read your piece. Now, you could use the last 15 minutes of our class to continue your writing, whatever prompt really spoke to you. Continue writing to that if you don't feel comfortable jumping on to the mic itself and reading your poetry out loud to the rest of the class. If you do, that's your space to do that as well. And again, like I said, you can hit the speak button. So before we begin, I would like you to remember to keep your inner critic and your judgment of the work that's shared here, both yours and others. I want for you to have that waiting outside of the session. It doesn't have any space in the session because we are here to uplift and encourage our peers and ourselves with very positive, useful feedback. So please join me right now. We are going to take one deep cleansing breath. It's going to be in through the nose for 4 seconds. We're going to hold it for 6 seconds, and then we're going to breathe it out very slowly through our mouth for 8 seconds. So close your eyes if that's helpful, and let's take one deep cleansing breath, and we shall start. Breathe in. And breathe out in a big whoosh. I hope that felt good. It felt good for me. So we're going to do 3 prompts. but we're going to have a bonus one because the bonus one is going to get us warmed up. So your bonus before we start the official prompts, to warm up, I would like you to do 5 minutes worth of free writing. And what you're going to free write to is, I'd like you to pick an instance that happened to you this week. Take time right now to think about an instance that happened to you this week that stands out in your mind. And I'd like you to free write to it for 5 minutes. I'm going to begin the clock right now. Go ahead and start writing. We are now a little bit past the halfway point. We have 2 minutes left on the clock. So begin thinking where you'd like to have a good stopping point on what you're writing. All right, writers, time is up on the warm-up. Um, Please finish up, find a stopping point on what you were free writing to. Please do set that aside. Sometimes what you free write on, you know, about experiences that happen during your week are almost akin to when you write about your waking moment before when you're dreaming, when you keep a dream journal. They sometimes are important clues to lead you to other ways you can go through your writing. Oh, excuse me. Apologies. They could be useful in future projects that you're going to write. So please try to save everything and try to revisit them every once in a while. Sometimes things that you don't think have a purpose or cannot be used, they may be something that's useful later on to incorporate into another piece that you are working on or as a standalone piece. So we are now going to get into our first official prompt. So I would like you to take a moment to close your eyes. Close your eyes, clear your mind, and picture your own face. Picture your own face. Think of the details slowly coming into focus, the shape of your eyes, the color of your eyes, any marks that you have on your face, such as freckles, um, moles, birthmarks, a particularly unique curvature to your cheek, um, the shape of your lips, the coloring, what frames it. Think about your hair, what color it is currently, what length it is. And then I'd like you to imagine this scenario that this is fresh and brand new. This is your first time finding out what you actually look like. This is your first time finding out what you actually look like. So I'd like you to take 8 minutes to write down and tell us what you see. Don't think too hard about it. Just write down as it's coming into your mind. Think about it. Close your eyes for a moment. When you get an image in your mind, write it down. A good example would be, I have a bow on my upper lip. I have one eyebrow has a notch in it. My cheeks are rosy. Don't think too hard about it. Just write what your mind is telling you to write and what it sees. I'm going to start the clock right now. We have 8 minutes to write to that. Begin now. You have 3 more minutes left on the timer to write. Alrighty, pens up. We are through with this prompt. And I put in the chat, I would like you to really, I hope you really tried to pick up on and pay really special care to the features of your face and the impressions that appeared in your mind that kept on repeating, because I want you to keep a note of these. When we do the next prompt, and I'm about to explain it, I would like you to compare if you made any similar observations of this contemplation of your face and the contemplation of the next thing that I'm going to ask you to observe. So let us get into the second prompt. Our second prompt is, I would like you to settle in because I'm going to have you watch a video. And while you're doing that, have your pen and paper at the ready, because I would like you to actively take notes of what you see in the moment as you see them. If they, just like your observation of your face, if they jumped out at you, write them down. Don't think too hard about what you're writing down. It's not supposed to have any sort of sequence. You're not crafting a piece right now. You are writing down your observations. We will get into the crafting of the piece a tiny bit later. So I'm going to have you watch this short film. It is by Julie Gauthier called Ama. And again, like when you're watching it, I would like you to make note of what images stick in your mind the most and make that connection that I said a while ago about these comparisons. If you're finding that you're making similar comparisons, or if you're not, if you're making completely different um, observations of what you see, and also if it's beginning to sprout a story in your mind as you're making these observations. Note that down as well. So this is going to take about 7 minutes. I'm going to put the link to it as well. If you're unable to see the entirety of it or having a problem watching it, you could also watch it a little bit further on your own time once we're done with the session. Okay, so I hope you're able to see that. And here we go. I do hope you enjoyed that. That was so beautiful, breathtaking. Um, and I hope you were able to make some really good observations of what was happening in the video. Trying to allow the space for, how it was making you feel, how the different sequences were making you feel, what you believed that the performance was conveying, what story it was telling to you, at least, what unique story it was telling to your that harkens back to your own experiences. So our next prompt is actually going to connect to um, to what you just observed. So I asked you to go ahead and make some observations, write down in the moment, jot down some things that you had noticed um, as far as actions, images that you were seeing in the video. And what I want you to do next is I want you to use the remaining part of our prompt writing time to concoct your own unique story to accompany this clip with the notes that you took to aid you. I'd like you to concoct a story. So, like I said a while ago, while you're making these observations, perhaps your mind was already beginning to make up its own story, its own backstory to how this came about, or a story itself of what was happening in the moment. So I'd like you to choose 3 distinct lines or phrases that you wrote down, pull those out of the other observations that you made, and make those the primary basis, the bones of what you'd like to write. And so I would like to allow for, I was going to give you 10 minutes. I think we might still have 10 more minutes left. That will leave us with very little time at the end. So if we do have time at the end, we can go ahead and pop on the live to share. Otherwise, if we run out of time, we can put it off until the next session and just use the remaining time to continue writing on this last exercise. So please write a unique story that would accompany this clip with the notes that you took to aid you. I'm giving you 10 minutes to do so. So please begin now. I will start the timer and I will put the prompt into the chat. If you wanted to watch the video again, please do so. I put the link for that as well in the chat. Your time begins now. While you are writing to this last prompt, and I hope this is not disruptive, but I want to make sure that you get this before we leave. I will also post it in the chat, so please do concentrate more on what you're writing, and you can go ahead and just copy and paste what I write down. So this is your optional homework. You can choose to write to it, or you can completely ignore it. This is just to be more helpful for your continuing journey with what you do in this class, and it usually connects. So your optional homework, I would like you to go more in depth on your observation of yourself, which was the first official prompt. But this time, instead of imagining your face, I would like you to take a moment, sit down, and in front of a mirror, and really study the details of your face, your hair, again, like any unique markings that you have. And then take a note of whether you are still if any part of your body moves while you're observing yourself, for example, blinking rapidly or biting your lips. And then write about everything you observe. Take a good long moment to do this. Take about 5 to 10 minutes. Observe yourself right in the moment. And from this material you gathered, I would like you to write one of these two things. I'd like you to write a short story or poem about yourself as if you were another person meeting you for the first time. Or I would like you to write a short story or a poem about these characteristics or physical attributes belonging to someone else. And I'll put all that in the chat. We have hit the halfway point of our timer. You have 5 minutes left on the timer, and looks like we're making good time. So we might have an itsy bitsy bit of time to jump on the live should you choose to do that. If you want to read a tiny bit from your poem or your short story or your free writing that you wrote today. Okay, and that ends our final prompt. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed all those prompts. There were fewer this time, but hopefully you enjoyed that it allowed for a little bit more time to write. So we have about 6 minutes. I don't know if you want to use that to jump on and read a little bit. If both of you, I think there's still two of you left here in the class, wanted to jump on, um, we can read each for 3 minutes. Please feel free to do that. If you wanted to continue for the next 5 to 6 minutes and keep writing, also feel free to do that. I will be available here for that time period, and then